And here's one that's the most unbelievable of all. It says, kill your friends guilt-free.
You know, nowadays, in the fighting game community, voicing your favorite Guilty Gear is like a political statement. But lucky for me, I'm at all of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and claim this one as mine. The original Guilty Gear was released in 1998 with the subtitle, The Missing Link. It was developed for the PlayStation 1 by a small team of 12, led by young Daisuke Ishiwatari and the lead programmer Hideyuki Anbi. Daisuke was fresh out of school and unsatisfied with fighting games at the time, saying they liked that cool factor when it came to character design. And sure enough, instead of your honest gi-wearing martial artist protagonist, we got an antisocial douchebag who smokes and tells you to go fuck yourself. The game was originally going to be developed using pre-rendered 3D models on a 2D plane, but was ultimately ditched for the animated sprite work. And after a year and a half of development, the world was introduced to Guilty Gear. While it wasn't a hit on release, it managed to gain some eyes and traction that would later pay off for the game sequel, Guilty Gear XX, which would go on to establish ArcSys as a fighting game developer that's here to stay. What was so remarkable about Guilty Gear was just how different it was at the time. Despite not being nearly as polished as other fighters on the market, it managed to stand out with its dirty grunge aesthetic, unique character design, heavy metal soundtrack, which absolutely bangs, fast-paced gameplay that rewards aggressiveness, and its heavy emphasis on air mobility. Surely the first installment in such an iconic series is worth celebrating, right? Well, how ridiculously unbalanced this game is. Some unfinished characters, and some dumbass game design choices were always major criticisms, even back then. This game is what's commonly referred to as a kusoge, literally translates to shitty game in Japanese. It's typically used to refer to broken fighting games that are still fun to play because of the poor balancing and design choices. But who cares? I don't play any fighting game at a high enough level to where balance is a concern to me, so that's largely irrelevant. Of course, you're better off playing any of the newer installments if you're looking for superior gameplay, but as a novelty, isn't there other reasons that make The Missing Link worth checking out? You don't want to see how Guilty Gear first started before it evolved into what it is today? Or the first iterations of the character designs? How's the art style? How did it play? Did music always go this hard? I'm nerding out again. Obviously, it's not viable for competitive play, but for a scrub like me, bad balance doesn't necessarily determine if a game is good or not, at least for the old ones. I won't bother taking the game as seriously as I would others, but I'll just come to appreciate it in a different way. So already, at the character select screen, we're greeted by the hard-hitting rock and metal Guilty Gear is very known for. It's insane. I could go on forever about how good the entire series' soundtracks are. Maze X2 theme, Blue Water, Blue Skies, is probably the most gorgeous shit I've ever heard from a video game. And this game is just oozing with style, bro. Even though I'd say it will go on to be better in the sequel, Guilty Gear's brilliant character design was always a major aspect of the series, further reinforced here with each name panel having their own font and stylization. It's just the little things like this I appreciate when it comes to giving fighting game characters personality. The art direction really carried too. The sprites may not have been as detailed as other games during this time, but the backgrounds are pretty aesthetically pleasing. And I swear that right there is an SNK reference. The dialogue is pretty self-aware too, like everyone acknowledging that Soul is holding back his true power after a battle. And some of it feels like shit real people would actually say when in this situation, like Potemkin feeling guilty for having to fight an old man or a kid to advance in the tournament. May won't stop comparing everyone to Johnny though. This game is pretty dark with its themes and explored some heavy topics as well, like Chip's struggle with drug addiction, Dr. Baldhead becoming a serial killer when he failed to save a little girl's life, Kai questioning God if his ambitions are morally correct, and Cliff telling Testament before he joins them in hell, he has one last battle to fight, using up the last of his will and peacefully passing away after. Okay, last thing I want to talk about presentation wise, the sound design. The sound of the slashes are something I absolutely love. It's just so satisfying to hear. The clashes and other weird sound effects may sound grainy, but combined with the grimy music and announcer under that compressed PlayStation 1 audio, it really gives off that sinister feel. The running sounds goofy as hell though. Listen to Scooby-Doo shit. That part in the intro where I said I suck at Guilty Gear, that wasn't a joke, but now I'm learning though. I've always been more of a 3D guy, specifically Tekken, since I thought I was too slow for anime fighters, so don't expect to see some crazy tech or gameplay from me. However, I've actually sat down to try and study this one, so I can explain the game's mechanics to you, and the differences it has from the future installments. I fact checked too, so no misinformation. Also, I should probably give a faux sensitivity warning or something, cause this game has a shitload of flashing lights. Anyways, you got your standard fighting game shit, such as backdash, forward dash, crouch, and jump. Then of course, the double jump, high jump, and air dashes. In this game, everyone could use a combination of their two jumps in addition to an air dash, unlike future games which I believe after you jump you only get to use one air option. The exceptions to movement are Melee and Justice, being able to use two air dashes after a jump. Chip can triple jump and can camp you out too. Potemkin can't dash forward, he's a heavy boy. And Old Man Cliff, he cannot dash forward or backwards on the ground, instead he has a dodge in place that can lead to some counters. But it doesn't work sometimes, and sometimes he hurts his back while doing it. Don't laugh, fool, it's gonna happen to all of us. The game uses a 6-button layout. There's punch, kick, slash and heavy slash, standard Guilty Gear shit, and lastly the taunt and respect button. Taunting is taunting, there's some funny ones. Chip says, "Kiss my ass!" And Cliff can do damage with his old man ramblings. It blocked, it bounced back to him. The taunt button in mid-air will make you turn. This can be useful across up for characters like Chip. The respect button on its own just shows your character giving some props, but with an additional input, you can begin charging up to level 3, and you can store the charge for a special move, changing its properties and damage by a ton. If you play +R, this sounds familiar to Order Soul's charge mechanic in that game, except this one is on steroids. It was never brought back, but I think it was kinda interesting. It went with the whole aggressiveness they wanted the gameplay to lean towards, cause you didn't want to give your opponent the time and space to charge up one of these. Some charge up animations look cool, like some Dragon Ball shit. Others look like they're about to take a fat dump. The only characters with no charge are Axel, Testament, and Justice. Axel is actually supposed to be able to, but a misplaced semicolon in the game's code fucked him over. Overdrives, or the supers, in this game were called chaos moves and require you to spend a full bar of the chaos gauge to perform. They did a shitload of damage, and you can spam unlimited supers regardless of meter once your health bar reaches yellow and a red aura appears. Your character enters chaos mode or whatever. And chaotic it was. When this happens, the screen just becomes flashing lights and a barrage of overdrives. Infinite supers at low health, huh? Kinda like King of Fighters 94 for my fellow Mexicans. This can be pretty annoying for characters like Justice, where she can combo her stupid ass lasers into each other. Or Emilia, where the game just turns into a bullet hell at that point. Hey man, I'm a Tekken player. I'm not the best when it comes to dealing with zoning. Dust attacks are technically in this game, except it wasn't its own button. You had to press both slash buttons to do it, and they weren't universal overheads, with most being mids. Faultless defense was here. You can negate odd chip damage by pressing the respect button while guarding, but eats a ton of meter. Doesn't matter when it comes to Justice's gamma ray though. No matter what you do, that shit is gonna kill you. There's also the dead angle attacks, although they function differently in this game from later installments. Basically, just special moves done while on block stun. And the dizzy mechanic. It's like Street Fighter stun. If you're getting your ass handed to you, the game punishes you for letting your opponent land consecutive hits by putting you in the state where you can't do anything. The chances of entering the state varies between characters. But fuck all that nerd shit. You don't need to learn all that. You actually thought I was gonna sit down and learn an anime fighter for once? Hell nah, bro. I'm gonna use whatever gimmicks and tricks I can before I bother learning the frame data. A common misconception is that simple things like Soul's dashing kick and Volcanic Viper at the wall are actually infinites. While it does work against the CPU, they're not true infinites because the CPU doesn't tech. That's right, there's a teching system that's only mentioned in the manual booklet, so I don't blame anyone for not knowing. Also says Soul's favorite thing is Queen's album, Sheer Heart Attack. The true infinites are still in abundance though. Remember how I said you could charge your special moves? Well, you can cancel any of your normals into charge, skipping the recovery of moves and letting you loop stuff like Soul's close slash into heavy slash. You can chain a lot of shit like this and it cannot be escaped. It's like a dollar store rum and cancel. And the most infamous aspect of the game, the instant kills. The ones in this game are bullshit though. They're stupid easy to perform and could be done at any time during the match at no cost. Punch plus kick triggers the opportunity, and the quarter circle input seals the deal. An instant block can also trigger it. If done successfully, you instantly win both rounds, meaning the match can be over in just a few seconds. So there's 3 outcomes. Let's say you're on the opposing side. To dodge it, you have to do the reverse input before they complete theirs. If you emerge victorious, you're saved from the brink of death, and the match continues. But if you fuck it up, your history. Alternatively, you can perform yours by doing the regular input before they do. They're supposed to be removed later in the game's development, but Daisuke's team didn't have the time to make any major changes. Thank God this game didn't release in arcades. Imagine how salty you'd be if you got hit with one of these right after you pop in a quarter. I mean, bruh, Kai's instant kill combos into itself regardless if you escape it or not. So you're trapped in an endless loop where you get timed hours to come to it. I've only scratched the very surface of the jank and the oddities present in Guilty Gear The Missing Link, but you could always hit up Dust Loop and see everything for yourself. It's pretty hilarious, and I wouldn't completely put off playing it cause part of the fun is seeing the chaos unfold. The absurdity is entertaining, bro. But as always, that's only my opinion, and you don't have to take my casual ass serious. Cause I'm different. Can keep crying about how ranked is cancer. I'm gonna keep talking about fighting game lore from the 90s. The story of Guilty Gear goes deep, but I'm gonna keep it simple for the sake of not wasting your time. Basically, in the year 1999, technology throughout the world malfunctions and is banned by United Nations. Let's just say it was Y2K if it actually happened. It seems like this is the end of society, but magic is introduced as a source of power, and it brought a new age of advancements for mankind. In 2014, 3 scientists in America are tasked with the Gear Project. Frederick Balsara, Aria Hell, and Oscar R. Kreitz. You see, the Gear Project was one that would involve fusing animal and human DNA with magic to cure terminal diseases and illness. But Aria comes down with an incurable disease, and she wishes to spend the last of her days with Frederick. Oscar, however, convinces her to enter cryo sleep until a cure is found by guaranteeing that she'll see Frederick again no matter how much time has passed. To fulfill his promise, Oscar turns Frederick into the prototype gear, against his will, ensuring that he'll live indefinitely. But the research then falls into the wrong hands, and the military constructs the gears to be biological weapons for their own selfish gain in warfare. Frederick, now a monster betrayed by his friend, creates a headband made to suppress a gear cell so he can maintain the appearance of a human. He vows to destroy every last gear on Earth and kill Oscar or that man for what he's done. Filled with hate, guilt, and revenge, Soul Bad Guy is born. Many years pass, and Justice, one of the gears who possess self-awareness, rebels against the military, obliterates Japan, takes control of the rest of the gears, and declares war on mankind. Humans put their differences aside, and the Sacred Order of Holy Knights is formed to combat the gears, led by Commander Cliff Underson. Thus begins a great war called the Crusades, spanning over 100 years. Humanity wins when Justice is defeated by Soul and sealed away in a dimensional prison by Kai. And with the goal completed, the Holy Knights disband and the war is over. But just 5 years later, the walls of Justice's prison weakens. Anticipating Justice's return, the world leaders organize a tournament to select members for a proposed second order of Holy Knights. No rules at all, anyone can compete, and a single prize. The victor gets a single wish granted, any wish at all. Interesting stuff, I guess. This was of course the first appearance of many iconic Guilty Gear characters, so I want to take some time to talk about the tournament entrance. So here's the bounty hunter, sole bad guy, Mr. Guilty Gear himself. He was lankier and more of an asshole in the older games, but man, for a 90s video game protagonist, his design is awesome. He was also voiced by Daisuke himself, since he couldn't afford the voice actor he wanted for Soul. It's hard to believe that Soul was ever considered a brilliant scientist with 3 PhDs given his lazy and brash personality now. Being self-centered, not working any harder than he needs to, and having the word free itched into his belt buckle. But it has been 188 years, and after everything he's gone through, like the burden of working on the technology that almost led to humanity's extinction, it indeed fucks with the man. And who would want to live that long anyways? At some point in time, Soul was found and recruited by Cliff into the Order of Holy Knights. His carefree and reckless personality, however, clashes with that of his young Captain Kai Keese, and they end up dueling when Soul is caught stealing a sacred treasure, a sword known as Fire Seal. They duke it out, but Soul ends up winning the duel and abandoning the Order altogether. He would go on to finally defeat Justice on his own, leaving Kai and his men to lock her up in a dimensional prison. But years after the event, Soul hears of the second Holy Order selection tournament and Justice's possible resurrection, and decides to enter to unravel the truth. Now Kai, this is my boy. Everyone knows how pretty motherfuckers named Kai. He's like the complete opposite of Soul, wielding the other sacred treasure Thunder Seal and having the word hope inscribed into his belt buckle. He's a religious man. He commits himself to God and his idea of honor and justice for all. But he's also racist, wanting to destroy every last gear too. He joined the Sacred Order of Holy Knights at just 10 years old, became a prodigy swordsman at 15, and was appointed as the leader of the order at only 16 when Cliff decided to retire. He leads the order until the end of the Crusades, when justice is sealed away. After the order disbands, he joins the International Police Force, but when he hears rumors of Justice's possible resurrection, he grows suspicious and joins the tournament as well. Cliff is actually the most badass character in the series, but you don't hear much talk of him nowadays. He was Testament's adopted father and played a similar role as a father figure to Kai. At 6 years old, Cliff was saved from a gear attack by Soul. Feeling inspired by this event, he grew up to join the Sacred Order of Holy Knights during the middle period of the Crusades, which he would later recruit Soul to. He quickly rose through the ranks and was eventually appointed as their leader. I mean, this dude was hardcore during his prime. You see that gear corpse in the back of his stage? It was a 5-headed Hydra that towered over London during the Crusades, and Cliff fought it on his own non-stop for 7 days and nights. God of War shit. He is the leader of the order for the majority of the war, fought Justice 16 times, and refused to retire until his 80s. But after the Crusades end, he comes out of retirement to join the tournament when he learns of Justice's possible resurrection. He's no longer as mobile or able to wield the Dragon Slayer's sword one-handed like in his prime, but he still manages to find other ways to utilize the weapon and keep up despite his age. I know you Coomers would rather play as cute girls, but I always thought old dudes in fighting games were badass. The thought that knowledge and experience can triumph over raw strength is pretty cool, no? He's the only one from this game's roster to not yet appear in Strive. Canonically dead, but I'd love to see him come back someday. Make him a zombie or some shit, I don't know. I always thought Potemkin's original design in here in the sequel was pretty fascinating. He was born into slavery in the military empire called Zep, and with a genetic mutation that gives him the large and powerful body he has. He's a rather peaceful individual who has a passion for sketching, but is forced to fight with the other slave soldiers of Zep, each one having to live in fear of the bomb collar around their necks exploding at any given moment. Potemkin was ordered by his superiors to join the tournament so he could wish for more land to expand the Zep empire to, and he accepts as he thinks this is a more peaceful way of gaining territory rather than an invasion. Chip Zanoff was an orphan born in America during the Crusades and struggled to make a living in the streets. He got hooked on narcotics and, desperate to have a steady supply of them, became a dealer for the mafia. Getting high off their supply was obviously not a wise choice, and it didn't take long for the mafia to send killers after Chip for not paying his debt. Chip's life was saved by Tsuyoshi, a ninja master who decided to take him in his care. Now completely sober, Chip becomes his apprentice and trains his body and soul in the ways of the shinobi. They lived peacefully together until the Assassin's Guild ordered his master to be killed, and in his dying breath, he tells Chip to walk away and live his own life. Chip, however, does not honor his master's wish and enters the tournament to wish upon his own organization should he win, so he can take revenge on his master's killers. He shows no remorse towards women, so that's how you know he's a fucking gamer. Damn, not even towards children either. At least he's anti-smoking though. May is the first May of the Jellyfish Sky Pirates and was named after the month she was found by Johnny, the crew's captain. She's pelodophobic, means she's scared of bald people and shit. She can't seem to recall her infancy during the Crusades, only the memory of wandering around the battlefield before Johnny took her in. The Jellyfish Sky Pirates become her new family, a band of thieves who fight and steal from the Wolof to distribute to the poor. Throughout the following years, she develops an insane attraction and obsession towards Johnny, but never gets noticed by him in that way. Johnny eventually gets caught in the act of stealing and gets locked up with a long-ass sentence to his name. The crew immediately begun planning a breakout, but instead, May decides to enter the tournament to wish for Johnny's freedom. I always thought it was funny to see a little girl swinging a huge-ass anchor the same size as them as if it were nothing. Also, she's fucking Sonic the Hedgehog. Axel Lowe is a young British lad from the 90s and grew up in one of the worst parts of London's East End. He hated the gang violence surrounding him and was determined to put a stop to it, so with his unusual martial arts prowess, he cleaned up his neighborhood within half a year without a single tragedy, somehow. Just as he thought this peace would last, in 1998 he was caught in a mysterious time slip and ended up in the year 2178. He frantically searched for a way back home, just wanted to see his girlfriend Megumi again, but after 2 years of no avail, his optimism was running out and he was ready to give up all hope. Until he heard of a tournament where the champion could get any wish they wanted. I also find it hilarious that in his debut appearance, he looked buff and scary as hell, but then went on to be all jolly and shit. Dr. Baldhead was a Chinese surgeon who was world renowned during the Crusades, greatly respected and considered the greatest physician in over 100 years. One day, a young girl came under his care, but mysteriously died during the surgery procedure despite his best efforts. Unaware that a secret organization conspired to prevent him from saving the little girl's life, the doctor goes mad wondering what exactly could have gone wrong. What mistake did he make? He goes insane and goes on a violent killing spree, murdering countless people before finally being captured and imprisoned. In his cold cell as he was rotting away, a tough-skinned stranger approaches him and offers him the chance to participate in an upcoming tournament where numerous patients were awaiting his surgical expertise. Sounds like some Twisted Metal shit. The way his moves are animated is cool as fuck though, but I don't like the way he moves his face. Imagine you're just chilling and this dude extends his mouth to snatch the last wing from your hand. Boy, I slapped the shit out of him. Milia Reyes was a Russian orphan who was taken in by the Assassin's Guild and was granted the sixth forbidden spell, allowing her hair to take many forms. She was trained to wield it as a weapon, but Milia didn't want to be involved in such a life and tried to commit suicide several times. During this, she becomes lovers with Zato 1, but a bunch of shit happens. Slayer is involved, that's all you have to know. She works with the International Police Force to set up Zato during an important mission, then flees the guild and leads him to be imprisoned. She then learns Zato has escaped and entered the tournament, so she decides to join too, in order to kill him and finally put the assassin life behind her. And speaking of Zato, you might be surprised to find out that he didn't actually play like a puppet character in this game. He was also an orphan taken in by the guild and sacrificed his eyesight in order to control the forbidden beast Eddie. Being the leader of the Assassin's Guild, he was a ruthless bastard. and was the one who killed Dr. Ballhead's patient. In his cell, he was offered the opportunity to enter the tournament and enact his revenge against Milia. Meanwhile, his shadow Eddie seems to be having a mind of its own. Damn, the fuck was Daisuke smoking to come up with all this? In the arcade mode, you fight 10 opponents and face a sub-boss specific to the character you chose. After putting yourself through the pain of playing against the AI in this game, unless you cheese your way here, you make it to the end of the tournament where some expect to claim their prize, and some notice that something is very, very wrong. Testament appears, Cliff's adopted child in the former Holy Knight that was converted into a gear by the government. Of course, being a gear, they're heavily influenced by Justice's commands. Testament reveals that the tournament was one huge scam, and they probably used the sponsor money on some ganja and gacha. Okay, for real, they fooled every person involved in the tournament at every level, and it was just a scheme to gather blood sacrifices for Justice's resurrection. Now, with the ritual almost complete, only one more bloodshed is required. Pretty cool stuff. Every character has their own unique dialogue, and I really like the way they handle the writing. But anyways, we have no choice but to rock their shit. Nothing too difficult to deal with. Also, take a listen at Testament's voice. It's kinda eerie, and I absolutely love it. Once defeated, Testament reiterates that only one more sacrifice was required, offering themselves to complete the resurrection and fooling us one last time. Then, the most iconic scene from this game, Justice's reawakening, and the dope ass theme to complement it. Get fucked. As Justice is defeated, Soul's headband pops off, revealing the gear mark on his forehead. She questions why he doesn't obey her commands when she was the first gear ever created and can control every gear made after. Soul reveals to her that he is a prototype gear, and then Justice regains her memories. Justice is Aria Hale, Soul's lover and friend who was converted into a gear by Asuka many years ago. She wishes that the three of them could speak one last time and passes away. Soul recalls everything as well. He vows to get revenge on that man as his redemption for everything he's caused, the gear project that led to his post-apocalyptic world, along with Aria and countless others' deaths, making him the guilty gear. Ooh, chills running down my spine and shit. Kai canonically speaks with Justice before Soul defeats her and comes to a realization that not everything is black and white. Justice isn't purely evil, she was only serving the purpose she was created for, to kill, one that she wouldn't be able to refuse if she wanted. This blows Kai's mind and he reconsiders his actions. Roll credits. Dick Ryan alert, but Daisuke was a fucking beast. For the game he provided planning, voice acting, character design, graphic design, create the world, and compose the music. Not to discredit the rest of Team Neo Blood, of course. And oh yeah, once you beat the arcade with Soul or Kai using no continues, the wandering samurai Baiken shows up and tries to run your fade. After Japan was destroyed by justice, the surviving people were placed in colonies for their protection, but as a child, the one Baiken was living in was raided by gears. She saw as her family and friends were slaughtered, and she lost her right arm and left eye to the event. Forever changed, she vowed to get revenge on the creator of the gear. Damn, everyone vows revenge on everyone. Why can't we just chill? She was also on Russian Kitchen Nightmares, but you can look that shit up if you want. Not to say her modern design is bad at all, I fuck with it, but her old one is probably my favorite just because of how rugged and simplistic it looks. Okay, let's just finish this fucking video already. After the events of the game, the rest of the characters' stories are also canonically resolved. Johnny busts himself out of prison and is ready to party and get zooted. Potemkin is approached by Sergeant Gabriel and is released from his slave collar, becoming a free man. Gabriel explains that he plans on leading a revolution against the Empire to establish a peaceful nation and asks Potemkin if he will join. Potemkin accepts, of course, and fights with his comrades to secure a better tomorrow. Meanwhile, Chip realizes that he's been letting his anger sway him this entire time and that revenge will not make him a better man. He remembers his master's teachings and decides he needs more training. Axel is heartbroken that his only clue about finding a way home turned out to be one big lie. He thinks of his boys having a good time without him, and goddamn, that really does hurt, not being able to show up at the function. I've cried myself to sleep before because of that. With enough drowning in sorrow, he realizes that this new world isn't too bad and he can always make new buddies. Just as he reaches a crowd of people ready to congratulate him though, he's once again hurled through time. Baldhead finds himself surrounded by a cheering crowd as well and is ready to continue his killing, but the voices awaken a memory in him. It's the little girl who passed away, telling the doctor that it wasn't his fault, it was just her time to go and everyone is waiting for him. He regains his humanity and flees into the night, never being heard from again. Word then spreads of a doctor with miraculous healing abilities going by the name of Faust. Milia faces Zato in the tournament, but is unable to bring herself to kill him, and continues living as a fugitive. The constant battling begun to take a toll on Zato. He demanded too much from his curse, and it was only a matter of time before it would push back. Eddie finally moves on his own and tells Zato he's no longer needed. The shadow takes full possession of his body, bringing him to his end. And following Justice's death, Testament comes to their senses and mourns the death of their adopted father. This game was real fun to look back on. It makes me want to learn Plus R and get decent at Guilty Gear. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you didn't enjoy it too much. I plan on maybe trying something new after this, something shorter, but still fun game related for sure. That's all from me. Peace.
The